nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Cameron Bonham, first of all, is somebody we were really excited about. He's somebody we studied in Cleveland as a safety projection. And then when obviously I get to know this roster and you're going into free agency, what needs do you think you have? And I'm looking at him like, hey, this guy has something in him. And so when we talked about this trade, we talked about the NFL and what it is now. And I got Ed Donatel and I got Mike Pettin in the lab, and they're going to figure out ways to use our depth, use their coverage skill sets, use them in a diversity way to get them on the field. Ultimately, it's about getting your best players in the field, and I think we'll be able to do that.
Welcome into Purple Access. Zolgad, Chip Scoggins, Star Tribune sports columnist, and Declan Goff, executive producer. Purple Access brought to you by our friends at Surly Brewing, who threw a fantastic draft night party for us last night. We completely drank them out of the Before I Die Ale, which was fantastic. All of you who showed up were absolute superstars because it was cold and eventually rained, and yet we had a great crowd. Thank you so much, and thank you, of course, to our friends at Surly Brewing, of which I'll be having several tonight at some point. And also by TCL TV. If you're not watching the draft or you're not watching sports on a TCL, what are you doing? TCL's the best that there is. All right, Chip Scoggins, I'm going to start with you. Explain what's going on in the Vikings draft to me. They go from 12 down to 32. They swap second-round picks, so they're going to be drafting 34th in the second round, which is a very early pick, and they get an extra third-round pick. They pass on Jamison Williams, the Alabama receiver, who obviously goes to Detroit. Can you help me out here? I've been asking people all day. I've been trying to make sense of this. I am legitimately, just to be clear, this is not an act, confused.
I think it's the ghost of Rick Spielman.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The pick, I think Lewis Cine's a nice player. Obviously, a very productive, talented player on one of the great, college defenses that we've seen in a long time. But Judd, my gut, and people can tell me about these charts and all the different models they have. When you trade back 20 spots in the first round, it just feels like you should get a haul.
Yes.
Haul haul, and I don't think that they got a haul. And so that's where I'm confused with. Is Cine going to be a nice player? He definitely could. Maybe he'll fit their defense, but this puts pressure on him and on them for him to be. He better be great, because if Kyle Hamilton turns out to be a great player, if Jamison Williams burns them 2 times a year, this is going to come back to haunt him. And I just for once, you would like to see the Vikings say, you know what? Instead of accumulating picks, we're just going to try to get the best player that we can get at that spot. And that's just once, That's the thing that I think it drives people crazy.
Totally with you. And that's where I guess I'm just confused by so many things here. Starting with the fact that, to your point, if I'm trading with a division opponent and it's the Detroit Lions especially, I'm with you. You have to win that trade. Like,
by
it's not like
by
right.
landslide.
And if the Lions are like, we can't do that, okay, bang, you hang up on them. I don't need for anyone to leave that trade feeling good if I'm the Vikings and it's the Lions. I need for me to say, I got their 2023 first. And by the way, if the answer is no, that's fine. I hang up. It's a division opponent. It's the Lions. I got to win the trade. I can tell you right now, and you can take your Jimmy Johnson and ESPN and whatever else value charts and shove them. I don't care about those. You didn't come close to winning the trade, and I don't even care about that because I'm with you. Supposedly these teams, Chipper, all go through the permeations of, what happens if our guys are gone? What happens if we try to trade back? But just for once, couldn't there have been a conversation about what if we don't get a trade offer we don't like? Who's the best player we can take?
Yeah, and I don't. So their original second round was 46. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this guy would have been there at 46, right? Maybe not. But there's just such a need. The higher you draft, the more likely that those players are going to be special. The more you drop, there's more risk. And that's not to say that this kid won't be a special player, but it's just, and this is this was Zimmer's frustration. It's like, just pick the best player that's at your spot and quit trying to accumulate picks. And to do it with somebody within the division. Again, I just go back to when you're dropping 20, you should walk away with that thinking we got, picks for next year or a first rounder, or you don't have to give up your second round pick. You don't include that in it. It's just you should feel like you hit a home run. Instead, people are going to these doggone value charts and trying to figure out decimal points if they won the freaking trade or not. If it's that confusing or if it's that uncertainty, and my understanding, I don't know how that some think they did, some say they didn't. There's kind of disagreement on it. Well, if there's disagreement on it, it doesn't feel like you won. You did enough. I'm sorry. And again, I like the player. And
that's not the point. And the player's not the point.
I think it's two different arguments. I mean, and at 32, he's maybe. I saw some people had him as high as mid-20s, right? They thought he was in the teens. I don't know. They're going to tell you what sounds good to them. But so it's not so much about the player; it's the process that they got to that point that's frustrating.
And this, okay, so here's where I'm starting to get upset, Chipper, because the word process hits it perfectly. If this was one pick in a vacuum, I'd be like, I don't really like it, but it's one thing. We can't really read too much. Yeah. I don't know that there's not a large enough sample size to have a complete discussion here yet. But here's what I don't like. And this goes beyond Kwesi, because I want to be clear here. I'm not going to pin everything that's been done since he got hired on him. I don't think this franchise has any direction as far as a coherent plan of what they're doing. I don't think that there's any. In one sense, they're going to run things back. And then in the other, they are going to build. And, you take a safety in the first round. And the kid sounds like he might be good, but flat out, we can tell you positional value-wise, which we have far more idea about in 2022 than we did in 2007. Positional value-wise, you just put a fifth-year option on a disposable position. So my question is this. What do you think the plan is here? Like, what are they doing that's going to not? And they can win football games, but the ultimate goal is a Super Bowl championship. So, what's the plan?
Yeah, well, this is where I do think they're part of this is. I think it's a dual plan, in that there is part of that. Hey, let's run it back because the owner says we're going to be super competitive, and you have guys that are in their prime and making. They have their window small, but I also think this is Kwesi and his staff looking at it and saying, pretty deep draft, right? Because of guys using extra years and all that, the COVID years. So it's a pretty deep draft. This roster needs to be replenished with young talent. So let's get as many picks in that top 3 rounds as we can. So I think it's dual. I think it's two paths. And Judd, part of this too, this discussion is they have to nail 34 tonight. I mean, you have to absolutely, that has to be an impact player and a really good one, because that's the reason why, you did this, is try to get as many of those guys in that top, 100 as possible. So I feel like it's Kwesi acknowledging that this roster needs to be turned over with some young talent.
So tell me about this then. The 2021 draft, which, by the way, brought in a lot of players.
Yeah.
Have they just decided it's not good? Because there's a ton of unknown there.
Yeah,
that is I see as potential replenishment. There's just I don't know that. Here's my problem. I want to have confidence, right? Like, I want to look at and like, I have confidence in Billy Garrett, right? And he does stuff, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But then it works out enough where I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything that doesn't make some sense. I have a fear that there's so many, as I put it to Phil Mackey on Purple Daily, so many chefs in the kitchen, Chipper,
Yeah.
that they're serving so many different agendas. And my concern is that the word collaboration has grown into everybody gets a say and we try and make everybody happy. Collaboration to me is, what's your idea? Okay, cool. I might use it. I might not.
Yeah.
This feels like it's going to a point of, hey, today we're going to do what Mark Wilf said, and tomorrow we're going to do what Ziggy said, and then the next day we're going to do what Rob Brzezinski said.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. A big part of this, the frustration. I got home from the Wild game last night. I sort of was scanning Twitter there, but when I got home and digested it, Vikings Twitter was a place to be last night.
That's great. Love those people.
But let's be honest. Part of that is people are just scarred because of Spielman and his approach, draft approach. So then when you have this fresh, that's the darndest thing about this whole thing, Judd, is like you turn over the entire football operations, and then in free agency you run it back. You have this draft, and you're thinking, okay, fresh, we're going to see, and then it's the Spielman playbook. So it's just. I can see where people, I assume that Surly, the people were surly and started drinking the Until I Die or whatever that.
Before I Die, and they had already drank it by the time. Thank God. I think once they traded back from 12, they were on edge. But once they took a safety, there was like one guy who said, "This is a great pick," and the rest of the people are like, "This is a bunch of BS."
Yeah, they should have brewed some more. I'm dead inside because that's probably
that's next year. Dead inside ale.
Yeah. So, but it, there probably are a lot of voices, and that is the risk you run. And I'm not saying, because I'm not privy to it, I'm not saying this is what happened. But when you do talk about collaboration and everybody's input matters, there has to be a line there too that everybody's input should not be equal, right? Like, I will listen to it, I'll take it under advisement, but this is Kwesi's operation, and it has to be his operation. And so much of early on, you wonder, does he have that autonomy to do what he wants to do, whether it's free agency and bringing these guys back, or whatever with this draft. So, but I think the more I sit here and think about it, Judd, I think it's them looking at it as they're trying to get as many picks, and not the 7th rounders. I mean, that, because those guys are, it's
right
along, but in that top 3 rounds, that those guys you should be able to hit on. And if they can get, what are they going to have, 4 now? 4 in the top 3 rounds, is that right? Or because they got 3 picks tonight, right?
Yeah, they've got 4 in the top 77. I think their last pick of the 3rd round, 77.
So I think they're just trying to replenish the roster, Judd. And it's maddening, because I just think at 12 you have a chance to get a special player. And again,
yes.
Again, it's not saying these other players can't turn out to be special, because we've seen it, but I think you play the percentages of the odds.
Yeah, and I think at 12, you also had a chance to get, there was certainly potential game changers left. And I'm not saying that Cine can't be, but again, he is a safety. He plays that position. And I know that they're probably going to use 3 safeties quite a bit. I know that safeties have become more and more so pseudo linebackers. So I get the construction ideas. I get what they're doing. I just don't know. I don't know if they have a real plan, and I don't know what plan that they're serving. And the more, I think I grow more frustrated by watching it, because it becomes more unclear, not more clear. And again, I'll go back to what I said before too. Does this mean that they think the 2021 draft class, which was really substantial, doesn't work? Because if that's the case, that's even, that's a bigger indictment of Rick, and that's a big draft class. That's not like 5 guys.
What was it, 15 or whatever it was? Yeah, and that's the one big unknown that we won't know until they go through camp. And heck, Judd, maybe they don't know at this point. I mean, you can evaluate guys on college, and I assume they watched their practice and if they got any kind of little playing time last year. But if basically they're gonna have 2 draft classes to evaluate to figure out what they have.
Right. Right.
Spiel and Zimmer's last one and this one, and then because we don't know. There's
That's what I'm saying.
That draft class last year gets an I and incomplete because you have no idea what they have in some of these guys, and so I would be surprised if they've made that determination on. Now maybe they have on a couple guys,
Sure,
Kellerman, whoever, but I mean, but some of these guys like Wyatt Davis, how the heck would they know if he can play or not? I mean, he didn't, I don't know.
I'm totally with you. That's my point, I guess, in saying that if the feeling internally is they need to replenish the roster, some of the replenishment should come from that draft class. And I don't know that continuing the trend of passing up on the best player available and potentially, at 12, a special talent, as you put it, is the most prudent thing. And it does feel, and this is true in sports, not just football, but it does feel like there is definitely a tendency to get far too cute. And this feels almost cute to me.
I would be, I would love to have True Serum to find out Kyle Hamilton versus this guy. Was it that close that they felt like if they can get another player that the gap isn't so big in their evaluation? That's the one because you passed on the higher rated safety to take, but maybe in their evaluation that there wasn't a big gap between the two. I don't know. And they felt like if they got him and an additional pick, then they could live with whatever gap there is. I don't know, but I think it's just. I think more than anything is just this fan base and media core is just beaten down by the trading back and accumulating picks approach. I mean, we've lived it and seen it for so long that it's just like, again, I go back to for once you would like to see him not even move up, but it'd be great if you did, but just stay and pick the best player that you can get there, the highest player that you can get.
Yeah, and I think it's now been the past 3 years. So they took Jefferson with a Bills pick they got in the Diggs trade in 2020, but then they traded back and took Gladney, and that didn't work out. Last year, they went back from 14 to 21 and took Darisaw, and now going back. And I mean, that's the thing too, Chip, is it's not just that they went back, it's they went 20 picks back. So like it's like the sledgehammer of football came down on the fan base's head. You think Rick could move back. Wait till you see me move back. And I think that's where it probably gets to be even more PTSD as far as what Rick did.
20 is a long way to drop in the first round. I mean, and then to do it in your division, and I'm sure they're crossing their fingers every time they play the Lions now that Jameson Williams doesn't go off, because that's going to get revisited a lot if he does.
And it's really tempting fate because while it is Detroit and they don't have the quarterback yet, it's tempting fate because the rules are all in Williams's position's favor. Like this league is it's bending over backwards to say, screw defense, we want more passing and offense. And so, like, literally, you've just told your cornerbacks, good luck here, guys. And so, it all feels weird to me.
And what was there?
All feels very weird.
As I'm trying to count in my head, was there 6 wide receivers that went in the first round?
Yeah, I think
there
that's
was that run of them. I think there was 4 and 5 picks, 4 out of 5 picks, and then later on, I think there were 2 more or 1 more. But and then 5 Georgia defended about that 5 first round picks,
including 2 drafted by the Packers, a defensive tackle and linebacker.
Who's madder today, the Packers fan base or the Vikings? I got to imagine
Packer fans base, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 receivers went, and you didn't find a way to get one of them.
I know, it's unbelievable.
And you've lost Devontae Adams. What? One of them went to the Chiefs. One of them went to the Bears. So, like, they need to just replenish the position.
Well,
yeah,
Judd,
I'm sure they're mad.
I didn't see the deal. So A.J. Brown goes to Philadelphia. What kind of did he get a contract? What kind of contract is he?
4 years, $100 million, like 53 guaranteed. So the Titans couldn't sign him, and that's a whole nother story.
Well,
That's what's coming here.
well, and that's the thing. I mean, Justin Jefferson is take a note. I mean, these are
Yep.
all benchmarks. Whether it's
Yep.
Devontae's or this one, or these are the benchmarks that he's going to be looking at, and so
Yep.
get ready.
Well, and here's the question too, Chipper. So you and I think last week on this podcast made it very clear, as I'm sure most of the fan base is, that when it comes to Justin Jefferson's contract eventually coming up, we're going to pay him.
You have,
but you know
there's
what?
No debate about that.
I agree with you, but here's the problem. Everything that I've thought Kwesi might do, he hasn't done, and they're going to look at this in an analytical eye with that. And so all I'm saying is this.
Yeah,
I don't want to debate you about this. I agree with you completely, but I guess I'm a little bit prepared for them to make a decision I don't see coming.
No, they can't do. What I think they have to do now is one of these picks today, probably take a wide receiver, because you have to replace Thielen at some point. His money has to come off the books. And I know he's thinking he's restructured and everything, but it's going to have to be Jefferson and then a cheap wide receiver core, right? A young wide receiver core on their rookie contracts, because you can't have two.
Yeah.
Guys, not if you're going to have a high priced quarterback too. I mean, it's just not going to work.
But Chipper, we have never seen the wide receiver market like this. Like, I mean, the last 3 months have been crazy.
Well, yes. And that's where it goes back to, if you're going to have a balanced team, I don't think that you're going to be able to have Cousins on a massive deal and
Nope.
Jefferson on a massive deal. It's got to be either or, and I think that's where you're going to start over at quarterback after next year when Jefferson's money kicks in.
All right, pick 34. The Vikings are going to have that pick. It's the second pick of the second round from the Detroit Lions. What do you do with that pick?
I think you go get a cornerback. I think that's still, to me, a glaring hole. I mean, I think you have to use that spot on a cornerback. Then the other ones, I think you need to get a wide receiver, defensive lineman, offensive lineman. I don't know. I can't throw out any names right now, but I think the first one,
center. At some point, a center.
Yeah.
I mean you got to bring competition.
Yeah, it has to be competition. But I think more than anything, it has to be a cornerback, right?
I didn't see a safety coming first round.
Well, yeah, I didn't either, but now you have to. I mean, I thought for sure. I thought it would just play it straight, take the best corner. And maybe they didn't have the McDuffie kid rated that high. I don't know. I don't know if they didn't like him or what, but you have to get one now. I mean, it's just, to me, that's issue number one.
I'm shaken. Full disclosure, I'm shaken. I've lost all confidence that I have any clue. Like, everything you're saying, I agree with. But what transpired last night, what they've done since the change from Spielman and Zim to KOC and Kwesi, they're not doing anything that I expect. And every time I think I see tendencies of what they're going to do, they do the opposite. So I'm with you, but I don't know. And I mean, there is steam right now that there is a fighting chance that at 34, second pick of the second round, that they're going to take Malik Willis with that pick.
Well, why would you do that at 32 and get the fifth year?
That's option? What we talked about.
That makes zero sense, because if you're going to do that, why would you? If you're going to do that, let's look at it realistically. Yeah. You're going to do that at 32, so you get the fifth year option, because he's going to take a redshirt year or two. So it would make no sense to that one. I don't see that. I would be stunned, but I was stunned when they dropped 22.
I was going to say they dropped 20 spots in the first round. If you weren't stunned then, you'll never be stunned.
But you don't. I mean, if you're going to take a quarterback that, not just a project guy that, hey, if he works out, or he's going to be our practice squad, not one of those. But anybody that takes him is taking him as under the assumption that, hey, this guy might be our guy. Well, you got to have the fifth year option available to you, especially if he's going to sit. I mean, he's going to have to sit at least 1 year. So
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that one doesn't. I just don't see that happening.
And Chipper, what was your surprise that that he didn't get taken in the first round last night, and that Pickett was the one guy to go number 20 to the Steelers. He stays home in Pittsburgh.
I do wonder when Kwesi said they had a curveball phone call at the last second. I wonder if somebody was trying to get in there to do that, because that's Seifert tweeted that last night, and he's 100% right. That 32 is prime spot for teams that want to jump back in and take a quarterback, because you get that option.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah. And so my assumption is somebody was trying to do that, and the Vikings probably said, we can't just drop out of the first round. That would be that'd be tough to explain. So yeah, but we said what was the thing, that this quarterback class was too risky and not enough. Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Not enough.
You need a Surly. You need some good old Suds, vitamin C for you, baby.
I know, man. So I guess I'm not that surprised, because I think there were just enough question marks. What did Pickett go? He was in was it 20? Yeah.
20 to the Steelers.
Yeah. So, not that big a surprise, but I got to imagine he'll go here pretty quick, though, right?
Yeah. I just don't know if I'm a team in the first round, especially late. I don't know if I'm going to allow a quarterback who has first round potential to pass through it. Like, it makes me like we've seen too many examples of that being a mistake. Now, your culture has to be right, infrastructure, coaching. So, like, not if Detroit takes him, or Jacksonville, or previously, that might be a disaster. But you would think that there'd be a late first round team, to your point, to get the 5th year option. Like, that plays a huge role here. That there'd be somebody who would try and cut that off.
Yeah, and again, I bet that was the call that they got, that he referenced as the curveball. But I know Vikings fans are sort of salivating for that at 34, but I would just be stunned. That one would be a hard one. That would be very hard if you're the general manager to explain away if you take him 2 picks after you had an option with a 5th year option the day before. That would make no sense.
Dex, sell it. Sell your Malik Willis at 34 to Chip.
I think it's a great succession plan to Kirk eventually here, Chip. And I know the 5th year option is big, because obviously he's going to sit for sure year 1, right? Like, there's no chance he plays this year. And there's probably a fighting chance, given Kirk's contract, that he might not be able to play next year, just because the Vikings are basically in a bind here.
100%.
I think his upside and the fact you don't have to start him right away, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. And to be honest, if we're worried about year 5 of Malik Willis before we've even taken him, like, we're getting way too far ahead of ourselves, in my opinion, there. So I think it makes a lot of sense to take him at 34.
Well, I would just say this, and you have to trust that O'Connell has, thoroughly investigated him and thoroughly investigated the guys that were coming out, or evaluated the guys that are...
Investigated is good, too.
Investigated, too. Yeah, that are going to be there next year.
Colombo.
And yeah, that's right.
Just one more thing, Malik. I noticed in your throwing motion.
He's got the hat and the pipe going.
That's for the kid. Kids are like, who that? What is sports dad talking about?
We're just talking about how old we are here now. But that they would say, I'm assuming, like, hey, there's going to be the pool is going to be a lot deeper next year in terms of who to pick from, but
that's probably true.
I know he's intriguing.
Hopefully they're in a place to get one.
Yeah, I know Willis is, you look at his skill set, it's intriguing, but again, without the 5th year option, it just makes zero sense to me. It just does.
All right, Chipper. Appreciate it, and we will recap the entire 7-round draft when we talk next week. How's that sound?
I hope you recover, man.
More
Trying to
Surly.
make it through.
More Surly. More hair of the dog.
Exactly right.
See you, boys.
More Surly Furious. Talk to you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chip.